Alright, hey everybody. Because my last knife glove combo video did so well, I'm gonna do a part 2 on this one. And just to recap a couple things, I'm gonna be using buff prices, and I'm gonna put them in the bottom left or the top left, whichever I do when I'm editing, but whatever. And if I think that the skin is compatible with any other knife, like let's say a freehand is okay with an M9 or flip knife or really any knife, I'll put a peepo emoji on the top right, signifying that it is actually compatible with like really any knife, and it's okay. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so right here we got an M9 bayonet, bright water, my bad, and moto gloves polygon. And this one is kind of an accident when I was changing the glove skins, and I feel like the blues on both the knife and the glove, they really match, as opposed to like the bright water knife with the amphibious gloves, which you might think that they're gonna match, but they really don't. And I feel like this combo is a lot better. Alright, now moving on to the combo that I actually wanted to do for this video is the same pair of gloves, moto gloves polygon, and shadow daggers freehand. And the colors are very similar with both the gloves. It's blue and dark blue and kind of purplish, and because the animation has also been fixed in CS2, I think shadow daggers are going to become a lot more prominent with a lot of like different skin loadouts and stuff, just because like it's not as buggy and stuff, and I think more pro players will use it just because it's like a really unique combo. Moving on, we got the sport gloves Nox and the huntsman knife black laminate, and in my opinion, Nox are probably one of the ugliest gloves in the game. It's just completely black. I don't know why Valve decided to add it, but I mean, hey, it ended up on the list, so I mean, we take it, right? But if you don't know, at least for the huntsman knife black laminate, the lower the float gets, the blacker or the darker the skin gets. And right now this is like a really low float huntsman knife, and as you can see, it's really dark, and I feel like the only skin that could really match this knife would be Nox. And yes, it's the only time that this glove or pair of gloves are really good, and I think it really matches because they're both pretty black. And that's basically all I have to say about this one. Alright, moving on to a more expensive combo, we got the amphibious gloves, or sport gloves amphibious, and an M9 bayonet tiger tooth. And I'm pretty sure Nico used this, the G2 one, not the other one, and I can really tell why he used it because both of the colors are really like bright, and I think it matches really well without both the colors being similar at all. And tiger tooth is just a really good knife to go with like bright colored gloves, and I think amphibious as well, it goes well with any type of gloves or any type of knife. But the only setback is that they're both kind of expensive, but I mean, if you're rich and you got the money, go for it. Alright, next up with the same pair of gloves, we got the karambit freehand again. And I think both colors are also kind of similar as to like with like the polygon gloves earlier, but amphibious is a little bit lighter in terms of color, or the color blue. But not only that, I feel like it's not really the colors that's similar, but it's the pattern that's similar. And the freehand has like a really messy pattern, while amphibious also has some pretty messy patterns, and I think that matches pretty well. And this is kind of expensive, but you could settle for a more cheap freehand and amphibious gloves, like for like field tested or like bayonet or whatever. But yeah, I think this is a really good one. Alright, next up, moving on to the cheaper side, we got shadow daggers again and specialist gloves. Both are called forest DD Pat, I believe, and of course you can kind of see where this is going. They're both the same skin, forest DD Pat, and it looks very good. And usually specialist gloves tend to be really expensive, but this one is one of the more cheaper ones, and I believe both of them match really well. And yes, it's because they're both forest DD Pat, and there's nothing more to be said about this one, I guess. Alright, now moving back to the moto glove combos, we got the moto gloves blood pressure and a gut knife Autotronic. Now, yes, it's kind of rare for a gut knife to be on a knife glove combo video, because gut knives tend to be so ugly and bad. But in this case, I think I'd actually prefer it over another knife like an M9. And why is that? Is because the red on the Autotronic, it really matches well with the blood pressure, more so than other knives. it kind of just streaks from the knife to the gloves. That kind of makes sense. And I feel like at that point, if you're gonna go for a more expensive Autotronic knife like an M9 or Butterfly, I don't know if Butterfly is one, but if you're gonna go for a more expensive one, at that point just buy a more expensive pair of gloves, like a crimson kimono or something. Now, next up we got the moto gloves again, the clips, and an M9 bayonet blue steel, and there's a higher float so it's darker, but if you want you could also go for some other darker skins like a rust coat or something. And I think this really matches well because they're both darkish gray, something like the Huntsman Nox combo I did earlier, but it's grayish this time. And at the time I was recording, I know, but now it really matches with the agent I'm going with right now as well, and I think he's French or something. I'll put his name up on the screen. But yeah, the gray combo really works, or grayish dark bluish combo works really great with the knife and glove. Alright, I usually don't like to match a pair of gloves with a Doppler knife, mostly because they're so expensive, but with this one I feel like there's really no other option because this pair of gloves really doesn't match with anything else. But here we have the Moto Gloves finish line, I think, and an M9 bayonet gamma Doppler, and it's phase 4 specifically because phase 4 I think looks best and the brightest, especially for this pair of gloves. And as you can see, the pair of gloves, it's got a lot of green on it, or some green on it, and it just matches with the knife, and it's pretty good. I think I would use it if I had the money, but I don't have the money, so that's too bad. So yeah, let's move on. Alright, same pair of gloves again, but with a free hand. And yes, it doesn't really match with the color, but if I'm gonna have to match this pair of gloves with anything, it's gonna be a free hand, because the pattern on both the freehand and the gloves are pretty messy. Kind of, at least. Like on the gloves you got the messy blocky pattern, and on the freehand you got the messy squiggly pattern. And I mean, I guess it does look pretty good in my opinion, but then again, I mean, unless CSGO like introduces some more green like chroma finishes on the knives, I feel like this is the best we're gonna get. Except for like an emerald, of course, because those are so expensive. But yeah. Next up we got the Specialist Gloves Foundation and a Talon Knife Urban Mask. And I really like to match Urban Mask knives with like just random different gloves that really can't be paired, because most of the gloves that can't be paired have a lot of white on them. And the Urban Mask is like only one of the only nice looking white knives, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you got Stained, but that kind of looks ugly, and so you just gotta work with this one. And yeah, I mean, the orange, you really can't match it with a Tiger Tooth or a Marble Fade or anything, so the Urban Mask looks just as good right here. Alright, now we got the Imperial Plaids, driver gloves by the way, and a Flip Knife Doppler, I think phase 3, and I think the colors look pretty good on this one, because the phase 3 is really dark, and you can get really dark Dopplers for really cheap because they look kind of ugly and it's kind of hard to really match them with anything. But guess what, I matched them with something. But the knuckles on the driver gloves really match with the knife because the knuckles are just so much darker, which kind of matches with the knife a lot better. Now, of course, if you're gonna have the Imperial Plaids, you can't have it without the freehand, at least a Flip Knife freehand. And yes, this one is pretty flexible, but I mean, a Flip Knife freehand is like so OG, you know? But I wouldn't know, I'm not OG, but yeah, the colors are really good here. They're both purple and they match, so I mean, yeah, what more can be said? Now, finally, we got the driver gloves overtake and the falchion knife lower. And of course, you can probably see that they're both kind of yellow. I mean, the gloves are kind of orange-ish, but I mean, I feel like this really matches as well, at least with the falchion knife, because with the inspect you can see like most of the glove as well. And the glove also has a brown part to it, so of course you can probably switch out the lower for a rust coat if you think if your budget is not that high. And I think it's really good. It's a really good budget combo, and I feel like you could build a lot of skins off of it. Alright, with that said, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will maybe try out some of these combos for yourself in the future. And This is my first time asking. I don't know if it'll actually work, but you guys should tell me how you guys feel about these combos in the comments, and maybe drop a like and sub. Gracias.